Hello, everybody. This episode of the LSVP Video Podcast is brought to you, as always, as a huge thank you to Joe Rogan and the JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience Podcast. Without Joe, I would have never thought about doing this podcast. You can listen to his comedy on Spotify. You can watch his comedy on Netflix. And you can listen to his podcast on iTunes. I am not sponsored by Joe. We are also brought to you... Here we do that shit again. As a huge thank you to Zions, the only energy drink I drink. 0 calories, 0 sugar, no cracks, no jitters. The great tasting 0-calorie energy drink. Real energy for real people. The unique formula that gives you the hashtag Power2. Today I have mango guava. It's one of the 3 flavors that Meyer sells. Unfortunately, it's hard to find the other ones. Yeah. I'm not sponsored by Zions. And as always, every single time, we do have the one sponsor, and that would happen to be fucks. They're not given here, they're not given there, they're not given anywhere on this podcast. Alright, today we're going to discuss free agency. The NFL has gone now through a week, well, it's actually started on Friday, of free agency, people being signed. And of course, it's the one time of the year where I get to be evil for a minute. I get to be a raging douche. That, of course, is mocking the mock draft. We finally got a good one. I will be mocking it as per the usual. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to get this fucking thing started. So about to crack this baby open. And I'm going to recline. There. Isn't that better? I'm more comfortable. You are more comfortable. The only thing that would make this more interesting is if I was doing this by candlelight. But then you would be able to see my hideous, hideous figure. That's right. You're stuck with it. As you can see, the wall behind me is not the wall you're used to seeing. I moved again. That's right. I moved out of my apartment after getting figuratively fucked in the ass. I left. Now I've moved in with my father, and I now live with him. I live in their basement. Bring on stereotypes. Do it. But yeah, so now I live here. All my shit is now officially moved in, and we can go on as business as usual. A little piece of news before I start the free agency explanations. The draft is 45 days away. A little fun thing you might want to know. Don't know why you might want to know it, but hey, I figure I might as well say it. Okay. Now let's go to free agency. We're going to start with the Bills, because that's the first team that popped up. Now, of course, when it comes to free agency, you have the chance to re-sign players who already play for you. In that effort, the Bills re-signed Lorenzo Alexander, outside linebacker, Miles Jordan, who plays offensive line. He's a tackle, I think. Yeah, tackle from Buffalo. I'm getting this information from the NFL Network for those who want to look it up. And Colton Schmidt, punter. There, let's see if that's better. Now I got to pull the camera back up because I don't want you not to be able to see me. You should be good. If not, oh well. Also, they picked up Jeremy Butler. I hate when it's backwards like this. It throws me off. Wide receiver. He was originally with San Diego. He's now come over to Buffalo. Ryan Davis, linebacker. He was with Dallas. I don't know why they put him in linebacker. He's really a defensive end. Patrick DeMarco. For those who may remember that name, he is agreed. He hasn't actually signed yet. He was the fullback from Atlanta. Vladimir Dukasis. He's an offensive guard. He has signed. He's from Baltimore. Steven Hauschka has agreed to their terms. 9th year. He's coming from Seattle. They also got a huge signing in Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde, of course, the safety from Green Bay. They also got Mike Tolber, fullback. They'll probably move him to running back. He's signed from Carolina. So of those signings, the one I'm most impressed with is, of course, Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde, one of the few people on the Green Bay roster who defensively can play pretty much every defensive back position. He can play safety. He can play corner. You can put him at nickel. He can play all those positions. And I know that the Green Bay is hurting now that they lost him. Now we're going to go to the Dolphins. We're doing the AFC East, I believe. The Dolphins were able to re-sign Andre Branch, defensive end. He has agreed to return. I think that's a pretty good pickup, again, to bring him back. He's a very solid defensive end. They've also re-signed Rashad Jones and Kenny Stills. Stills, of course, is the receiver who was originally with New Orleans. He's very quick. He's very fast. Question about his hands, but his overall ability to get the DBs to have to roll back while trying to cover him, and some of them can't cover him. Pretty big re-signing there. Of the two people they did re-sign, I'm only really excited about one, and that's the first guy, Nate Allen. He was a safety from Oakland. They got him, and they got Lawrence Timmons. Lawrence Timmons from Pittsburgh has been around for a while. He's an inside linebacker. My question is he going to be productive in Miami now that he's going into his 10th season? But like I said, Nate Allen, a very solid pickup. Now we go to the Patriots. Yeah, this is the AFC West. They re-sign Alan Branch and Duron Harmon. Now, people that are arriving, I am very excited with two of these guys. With both. I apologize, with both of them. One of them, of course, is Guy Lawrence. He's defensive end from Baltimore. And Stephon Gilmore from Buffalo. He's a corner. I thought it was a very good idea to bring in Stephon Gilmore. You get a number one guy who's very good at corner. He's got decent hand skills. Really good cover guy. And it just helps out that secondary to be able to cover some of the big receivers you're going to have to cover late in the year when you play people like the Colts, when you play Pittsburgh, when you play different teams inside your division that you're going to have to play that are going to throw the ball as opposed to run it. Now, as opposed to, the team I just said. I've said opposed like 10 times now. The team I just talked about, the Dolphins, you're not going to have that same mentality. They're not going to throw it 50 times a game. They're going to be more balanced. Now, especially that they know they have a running back in Jay Ajayi. With Jay Ajayi, your run game is now better. You have a running back who you can depend on, as opposed to before they had Arian Foster, who is a veteran, but is constantly injured. So, Guy Lawrence is going to help you there on the defensive line. The next team is the Jets. The Jets, once again, just sadness. The only person they picked up, Kelvin Beachum, and they lost Brennan Marshall. Now, unsigned people is a long list. One of them I was hoping they'd try and get back would be Kiri Robinson, because they could use another running back, but apparently they're not going to do that. So, as we've seen constantly throughout history with this team, they're not going to sign anybody. Now you go to the AFC North. I'm going to start with the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens signed Brandon Williams. They re-signed him. And then they picked up Tony Jefferson and Danny Woodhead. Now, Danny Woodhead I'm not 100% certain on, simply because he has had some injuries. He's, of course, coming from the Los Angeles Chargers. If I say San Diego, whatever. And then Tony Jefferson, who's a safety from Baltimore. Or, sorry, Arizona. I read that and then went, wait a minute. Jefferson's a pretty solid cover guy. He's decent against the run. And I'm really interested to see how he'll do in Baltimore. Next, you go to the Bengals. The Bengals re-signed Dre Kirkpatrick. Don't know why. Brennan LaFell and Eric Winston. LaFell, you always need more weapons when it comes to receivers. I think that the draft is really deep, so you may not need to re-sign him, but they chose to. They signed him to his 7th season now. What are we going to do? Dre Kirkpatrick, that signing confused me. Here's why. One, it's a very deep defensive back draft this year. 2, Dre Kirkpatrick so far really hasn't played, so I don't quite understand getting him. This team, the Bengals, have not signed anybody after the re-signing. The Browns. So to open this up first, the Browns, to get rid of their, I believe it's $100 million $100 million cap space, traded is it a 4th round pick next year or something, and they got Brock Osweiler and a 2nd pick next year. They got I think they gave him a conditional pick to alleviate pressure to Houston. It is unclear currently what the Browns are going to do with Osweiler. I say let him go, but at the same time, you look at their roster as to who's there. You don't really have anybody that much better, so you might as well keep him. They did sign Marcus Martin, center, J.C. Treader, center, Kevin Zeitler, guard, and Kenny Britt, wide receiver. Of those, that of course is in order: Britt from Los Angeles Rams, Martin from San Francisco, Treader from Green Bay, and Zeitler from Cincinnati. I don't know if he'll leave Treader at center. Might move him back to guard. I thought that was a really big pickup for them. The Browns, for the first time in a long time, actually addressed a huge problem that's been a problem for years, and that is their offensive line. Now we go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They re-signed Landry Jones, quarterback, and David Johnson, tight end. They have not signed anybody. Now we go to the AFC South. The Houston Texans have not re-signed anybody, and they haven't signed anybody. The Colts re-signed Jack Doyle and Robert Turbin, tight end and running back. Now, the people that they've picked up Jeff Locke, punter from Minnesota, Barkevious Mingo, linebacker from New England, previously with Cleveland, Jabral Sheed, defensive end and linebacker from New England, and John Simon from Houston, also a linebacker. Next we go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They re-signed one man, offensive lineman Patrick Omameh. Or it's Omameh? O-M-A-M-E-H. Their arrivals, their brand new pickups, is extensive. They picked up A.J. Boye, corner from Houston. Defensive end Calais Campbell from Arizona. Barry Church from Dallas. Audie Cole from Minnesota. Lorente McCray from Buffalo. And Earl Watford from Arizona. To explain those positions, all of them, with the exception of Watford, are on the defensive side. Boye is a corner, linebacker Audie Cole, and another linebacker in McCray. their defense just got tenfold better. They picked up a solid zone player in A.J. Boye, a very good pass rusher in Calais Campbell, a solid cover in both the pass and the run in Barry Church, Audie Cole, who's not great, but a decent backup. McCray, I don't know much about. I'm pretty sure he played for Green Bay at one point. And Earl Watford is a very solid guard. So keep an eye out next year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Next is the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans re-signed Carl Klug, defensive end, and Philip Supernaw, tight end. People they picked up: Darren Bates, linebacker from Oakland. I make that mistake every fucking time. Jonathan Cyprin, safety from Jacksonville, and Logan Ryan, corner from New England. I think picking up Logan Ryan is definitely going to help out your backfield. Something they do need a little help in, but overall I think Tennessee is beginning to become one of those teams that you're going to have to keep an eye out for in the AFC South and overall in the AFC division. The Broncos have signed Zach Kerr, defensive end Indianapolis, Ronald Leary, guard from Dallas, Domata Petco, defensive tackle, Cincinnati, and Menelik Watson, tackle, Oakland. Dallas re-signs Terrence Williams and brings in Nolan Carroll, defensive back, Philadelphia. Oh shit, sorry, I jumped over a bunch of guys. Kansas City. Sorry, my foot itches. They re-signed Daniel Sorensen, defensive back. Kansas City then also just today signed defensive tackle Benny Logan from Philadelphia. Now we go to the Los Angeles San Diego Chargers. They re-signed Jaleel Atiye. Could be a die. I've heard a die and then I heard a DA. So I don't know how you pronounce his name. They also pick up Russell Okong from Denver, offensive tackle. That's it. The Raiders sign Marshall Newhouse, tackle, from the Giants. Now we're going to jump to New York because I already did Dallas. Now we're in the NFC. The Giants re-signed John Jerry, guard. They pick up Rhett Ellison, tight end from Minnesota, DJ Fluker, guard from San Diego, and Brandon Marshall, wide receiver from the New York Jets. The big signing there, of course, being Marshall and Ellison. Ellison is a solid receiving tight end. He can also block. And Brandon Marshall gives you a new vertical weapon, who's especially good in the red zone. Now we go to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles re-sign Nahi Good and Stefan Wisniewski. Good, linebacker, Wisniewski, offensive guard. People they've picked up. One of them is a familiar face in Philadelphia. Nick Foles has returned after 2 years away. Before this, he was traded to the Rams. Then he played 1 year at Kansas City. Now he's back with Philadelphia. He's a quarterback. Alshon Jeffrey, wide receiver from the Bears, is now at Philadelphia. Torrey Smith, wide receiver from the Niners, now at Philadelphia. And Chance Womack, guard, Tennessee. The big signing there, of course, being Jeffrey, who should have a spectacular year. Next up is the Redskins. They re-signed Vernon Davis, tight end. They pick up Terrell McClain, defensive tackle, Dallas. Tracy McGee, defensive tackle, Oakland. Terrell Pryor, wide receiver, Cleveland. My reading is horrible. If I could learn how to read, maybe we could get through this faster. TJ Swearinger, Arizona. The big signing I personally believe is in Pryor. Pryor is a big weapon at 6'6", and he can run quite quickly. So I think if you use him in some screens and some different, red zone packages, he can become a solid weapon for Washington. Next up is the Bears. New arrivals. They did not re-sign very many people. Prince Amukamara, corner, Jacksonville. Quentin Demps, safety, Houston. Mike Glennon is the new franchise quarterback, supposedly, from Tampa. Deion Sims, tight end from Miami. Marcus Wheaton, wide receiver, Pittsburgh. And Kendall Wright, wide receiver from Tennessee. The big signing there, of course, I'm going to go ahead and say is at quarterback with Mike Glennon. You get a very tall pocket quarterback. However, I'm also going to say Kendall Wright because you pick up a speedster receiver who is very good. Next up is the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions signed Darren Fells, tight end, Arizona. DJ Hayden, Oakland. TJ Lang, Green Bay. Akeem Spence, Tampa. Ricky Wagner, Baltimore. And Paul Warrillo, Atlanta. In order, their positions: tight end, corner, guard, defensive tackle, and linebacker. Now, Fells, solid vertical weapon, unsure about his blocking ability. TJ Lang, solid guard. Ricky Wagner, very good tackle. Warrillo, pretty good linebacker. Pretty good run-stop type linebacker. Akeem Spence, solid pickup for defense. My biggest question mark is on DJ Hayden. DJ Hayden has not produced in Oakland. So what makes Detroit think he's going to produce here? I have doubts. Hopefully he'll prove me wrong. Green Bay re-signs Nick Perry and Don Barkley, linebacker and guard. They only signed one person, Martellus Bennett. Good job, Green Bay. They always talk about giving teams grades. They got an A for signing this many people. Green Bay, for another year in a row, I'm going to give you a D-. You didn't fail. Failing would be 0 people. However, you signed one guy. The Minnesota Vikings pick up Mike Remmer from Carolina, the tackle, and Riley Reif from Detroit. Reif is a bust. The Falcons re-signed Matt Schaub, Levine Tulolo, and Biddy Wren Wilson, defensive back. They have not signed anybody. Rumor is they're looking at Don Terry Poe. Re-signed for the Panthers, Charles Johnson, defensive end, Chris Scott, guard, and Fozzie Whitaker, running back. New arrivals, people they have signed: Mike Adams, safety; Charles Johnson, wide receiver, previously at Minnesota. Mike Adams was at Indianapolis. Matt Khalil from Minnesota, he's a tackle. Captain Munnerlyn from Minnesota, he's a corner. Julius Peppers, outside linebacker, defensive end, from Green Bay. And Russell Shepard, wide receiver from Tampa. Next, on to the Saints. New arrivals: Larry Warford, guard; A.J. Klein, middle linebacker; and Ted Ginn, wide receiver. They are from Detroit, Carolina. They re-sign one player, defensive tackle Nick Fairley. On to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay re-signs William Golston and Silver Siliga. Arrivals: Chris Baker, Deshaun Jackson, and J.J. Wilcox. Defensive end, wide receiver, and strong safety. Washington, and Dallas. The Cardinals re-sign Andre Ellington, running back. Don't know why. They sign Phil Dawson, Carlos Dansby, and Antoine Bethea. The Rams sign Aaron Murray, quarterback, Andrew Whitworth, tackle, and Robert Woods. The 49ers did not re-sign anybody. However, they have signed Matt Barkley, quarterback from Chicago, Brock Coyle, linebacker from Seattle, Pierre Garçon, wide receiver, Washington, Marquise Goodwin, wide receiver, Buffalo, Robbie Gould, kicker, Giants, Brian Hoyer, quarterback, Chicago, Kyle Juszczyk, fullback, Baltimore, Logan Paulson, tight end, Chicago, Aldrick Robinson, wide receiver, Atlanta, and Malcolm Smith, linebacker from Oakland. Why is that significant? Coming into free agency, they didn't have a single quarterback. Now they have two. And the draft can still happen where they could easily draft a guy. And last but not least, Seattle, who has not re-signed anybody and has not signed any free agents. Quick news before I mock the mock draft. The Eagles have released Chase Daniels and DeMarcus Ware, defensive end for Denver, has retired. Rumor is Dallas wants to sign him to a one-day contract so he can retire as a Cowboy. Congratulations on a great career, and hopefully soon be in Canton. Okay, now we're going to mock the mock draft. This, of course, is from also the NFL Network. This is Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 3.0. Normally I mock other companies. This is just going to be fun. Okay. With the first overall pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Myles Garrett, defensive end, Texas A&M. That's my best attempt at the really shitty commissioner we have. I've watched quite a bit of tape now on Myles, and I agree with their assessment. He is the best player right now in the draft. You absolutely take him. However, the Browns are stupid, so they very well could take somebody else. That would be the smart pick. If that's what they do, no problem. The San Francisco 49ers, with the second overall pick, select Solomon Thomas from Stanford. Normally, I would argue with you on that, but they do have John Lynch now, and he is a Stanford guy. However, they do need help at defensive back. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went ahead and got a corner or a defensive safety. However, if they get Solomon Thomas, I think you're reaching for him, but a solid defensive lineman. With the third overall draft, I'm not going to do that every time. The Bears pick Jamal Adams, safety, LSU. Okay, let me say this. Sure, you could use a safety. You know what else you need? A fucking quarterback. I think that's a little more pressing, seeing as how many defensive backs I have to pick from. If I'm the Bears, I'm taking a quarterback. And if I'm real smart, I'm picking the number one quarterback in the draft. Without question, Deshaun Watson. Clemson. I slide him into that 3 spot. The Bears have their franchise quarterback. Bada bing, bada boom, done. However, if they decide that they want to run with Mike Glennon, which is possible, I still don't think you go Jamal Adams there. Sure, he's got a solid talent. Jamal Adams is, a very good player in the secondary. However, once again, if the Bears decide to go with Mike Glennon, I think you need to go O-line. With the O-lineman, I look at a guy who impressed me at the combine, and that would be Bowles. I don't think that would be a reach at 3. I think that would be he's one of the best linemen in the draft. That would be a solid pick. He is, of course, from Utah. Number 4, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So let's say 3, you take Bowles, Garrett Bowles. 4, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to take Jonathan Cooper from Alabama. No, you're not. You know why? You just got Calais Campbell. You don't need him. This is where I solve the biggest problem the Jacksonville Jaguars have had. So I said 3, you went with Garrett Bowles. 4, especially if he's sitting there, you take Deshaun Watson. And I'm not going to give you or you could go. No, you take Deshaun Watson, you solve your quarterback problem, and you kiss the guy you got there, bye-bye. Number 5, the Titans take Malik Hooker. That's a pretty good pick. They just got Jonathan Cyprin. Hooker is a great guy when it comes to the pass. Unclear as to how he operates against the run game, but he can pick balls off left and right. I'm not going to argue with that pick. If I'm the Titans, that's a great move. They have the Jets taking Marshawn Lattimore. I think that's a good pick. They do need a corner. If they don't take Lattimore, my next option would be Jamal Adams. That'd be another really good pick for the Jets. 7, I have the Chargers. Here's where they have Deshaun Watson going. Obviously, I already said he's gone. I think that's where Jonathan Allen goes. Chargers sitting there at 7. You've already got Bosa on one side. You put Allen on the other. Holy shit, look out. You'll be wrecking quarterbacks left and right. That's a pick without question you take. They have number 8, the Panthers taking Leonard Fournette. Now, I don't agree with that pick. However, I agree with what they said today, watching the path to the draft, watching them discuss this. I don't like the pick, but I agree that he fits. So I'm not going to argue against it. I think you could go receiver, but if they take Fournette, he fits your system. 9, Derek Barnett from Tennessee going to the Bengals. That's a very good pick. I'm kind of surprised you don't go a linebacker there, but still, 9, Barnett, not going to argue with you. The Bills take Garyon Conley, Ohio State. Okay. Conley has really good tape. I have watched a few Ohio State games. He's very, very good. He's a very good player. My number one question is, compared to the other corners that I have on my board, is that the guy that I know fits my system? Now, if he fits your system to a T, take the guy. But I also look at how deep the corners are in this draft, and I go, is he worth it? If not, you go and fix another one of your issues. With the Bills, that's infinite. Now, a lot of people are saying the Bills should take a quarterback. I think they just re-signed Tyrod Taylor. So you have Taylor, you've got, what's his name? His nickname is 12 Gauge. He's from Ohio State. No, I can't come up with his name. The kid from Ohio State, can't think of his name. That's a solid choice there for either of those guys at quarterback. So I don't think quarterback's a pressing need. Running back, no. You're good there. Trying to think. Linebacker, you're good. So yeah, Conley would be a decent pick, I guess. Now I'm putting some thought into it. Yeah, it's a pretty good choice. The Saints, they have him taking Christian McCaffrey. I think that is the least of your problems. Don't get me wrong, you could use another running back, but let's be perfectly honest here. Of all the problems the Saints have, running the ball isn't one of them. I mean, it's a problem, but it's the least of your issues. I would go linebacker. possibly Raekwon McMillan, or you know who'd be a real good pick, I think, there for the Saints? Hassan Reddick. I think he'd be reaching for him a bit there, but it'd be a good choice. Put him at linebacker and keep him there. At 12, the Browns, O.J. Howard. Again, I think that the Browns have more pressing issues. But again, if that guy fits your system, if it's a no-brainer for you and you go, that's the guy we want, then by all means, take him. He's a very good player. But you got question marks at other positions. So I think you should go someplace else. Again, I say cornerback because it'd be great if you have all these weapons on offense, but you can't stop the other team. 13, the Cardinals, Reuben Foster, linebacker. Not really going to argue with you on that one. He's a great run stopper. It's a good choice. They have the Eagles taking Tre'Davious White. That is a very good choice, especially since Darren Sproles just said this is his last year. You're going to need a kick returner. Tre'Davious White can return kicks. The Colts take Forrest Lamp, guard from Western Kentucky. I'm not even going to argue with you on that one. That is a great selection. It's not on here. It says it's not a sexy pick. Doesn't have to be. That is my top guard. He's my number 3 lineman. I don't see where you argue with that. That's a beautiful pick. 16, the Ravens taking Charles Harris. I don't know. Charles Harris is a very good pass rusher. However, he struggles against the run, and when he's double teamed, he can't get free. If I'm the Ravens, personally, I go after John Ross, wide receiver from Washington. That gives you a huge player to try and replace a very good receiver that you guys lost this past season in Steve Smith. The Redskins take Jabril Peppers. I think he's the most overrated player in the draft. I don't touch him. From the Redskins, if you need a safety, pick somebody else. You got more pressing issues. I'm not going to discuss that because that just... If you want to take Peppers, have at it, but he's going to be a bust. He's going to be a really good kick returner, and he's probably going to be very fast, but him actually making plays, I don't see it. But I will say this. I'm more optimistic of him being at least okay at safety as opposed to linebacker. At 18, the Titans again. They take Corey Davis. Corey Davis is a very good receiver. He has got the tools. He's got good hands. He's got decent quickness. He's got a big body. That's a pretty solid pick for the Titans. The Buccaneers take, at 19, Chidobe Awuzie, Colorado. Awuzie is a good player. He's got very good coverage skills. He's got good movement. Got a couple small question marks on him, but nothing where I'd be too concerned. The Bucs could use another solid corner. So I'm not going to debate that pick either. At 20, the Broncos take Cam Robinson. Cam leans too much. I'm not a big fan of his. However, the Broncos do need someone to help them in pass protection, and Cam is pretty good at that. So I'm not going to argue with you too much there. Sure, it's a decent pick. 21, the Lions take Takkarist McKinley. I disagree with you 100% on that. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. I'm looking for what I do, but there it is. McKinley. So, he's got good hands. He's a very good pass rusher. However, he's not the guy I would look for. And I have so many friends that are going to be pissed when I say this. If you want to go defensive end, I look at Taco Charlton. Now, before I get yelled at, why Taco Charlton? He's very tall. He's very lengthy. He's quick. He's got good quickness off the line. I think he's a little bit better than McKinley simply because of the speed factor and height. If you don't take a defensive end, and they say corner's more pressing, a guy I haven't named yet due to an Achilles injury that happened, I believe, yesterday, that would be falling practically into your lap, would be Sidney Jones from Washington. He's a very good corner, got very good hands, solid defensive back skills. That would be a good pick. I look for him, like I said, or Taco. Either of those choices would be great. The Dolphins at 22 take David Njoku, Miami. Yeah, seeing as how you just lost Deion Sanders, I'm just thinking about it in my head. I'm like, Njoku, would I take him? Would I not? Again, I think you need to look somewhere else, but at the same time, you did just lose both your tight ends. Sims left, and Cameron retired due to concussions. So, Njoku, if that's a position you need, and that guy's there, I can see you taking him. 23, the Giants and Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick from Temple, I already said, would be gone. I see him going earlier. I'd like to see him go to the Saints. I think the Saints could use him. It's not I want him to go there because of some reason. It's just if that's what the position is, that's the position you take him at. However, if the Giants take Hassan Reddick, I could see him being equally successful. But again, I don't put him back at defensive end. I put him at linebacker, where he has proven to have very good coverage skills and the ability to move. If Reddick is already gone and on the Giants, I look for, again, Raekwon McMillan or maybe a running back. Maybe. I would personally reserve that for the second round, but if there's a guy you fall in love with at 23, take him. Raiders take John Ross. No. As I already said, 1, John Ross will be gone. I am going to the Ravens. 2, the Raiders, you're sitting there. Who'd you just lose? You just lost your run game. I take Dalvin Cook. If you're the Raiders and you're sitting there, Dalvin Cook, you can't not love this guy. I hate using double negatives, but truly, how can you not love this guy? He has solid footwork. He's powerful. He's not real big. He's about 5'10". But for that stature, he has got the speed, the power, and the movement to get around people. And if he can't get around you, he'll go through you. If you need him, you can roll him out to the slot and he can catch the ball. I think the Raiders take that kid and you run him to the Super Bowl. 26, Garrett Bowles. I already said Bowles will be gone. So I think you still take a tackle. You still take a guy. Bowles will be gone. But I think you can easily take another lineman. I lean towards Pochik. Ethan Pochik from LSU. I think he's a solid center. You could shift him inside to guard if you need to. At 26, Seahawks take Kevin King. I think King will be available. They like to pick bigger guys. I think he'll be available at that spot, and I think that's a solid choice for the Seahawks. 27, the Chiefs take Dalvin Cook. As I already said, he's gone. If I'm the Chiefs, again, I look at other positions that need to be filled. If running back is that big of a sore and you need it filled, there is a guy that is sitting there that I do think works. Now, let's say that the Saints don't take Hassan Reddick, they do take Christian McCaffrey. And let's say that the Giants are the ones who take Hassan Reddick. Well, that means there's still a running back that I personally am in love with that I think would work well in the Chiefs system, and that is Alvin Kamara. He's got very good quickness. He can catch, and the kid can flat out fly. I think that would be a good choice. 28, Cowboys take Evan Ingram. No argument there. Why? Well, we have Witten. Yeah, but Witten's getting up there in age. And where are you going to find a guy who you can easily transition and get in the groove with than Evan Ingram? 29, Packers take Taco Charlton. I'm going to assume the Lions take him. So Taco's gone. You still need a defensive lineman. I look at two guys. One, McKinley. Or two, a shorter guy, but equal in quickness. And that would be Ewan, what's his last name? Shit. He plays for Pitt. Ewan Price. He's much shorter. He's only 5'11". But if you're looking for a solid pass rusher, I think you can find the guy. He is quick. Now, am I saying that at 29 you absolutely take that guy? No, I'm saying if that's a position you absolutely need, which the Packers obviously do, that would be a solid choice. Again, I say here you go linebacker also and possibly get someone such as Raquan McMillan or, you'll notice I keep saying his name. He is my number 2 inside guy. I look for him to go late first round, high second round. High as in I meant like 30. The Packers could also use offensive linemen. But let's say you do need the defensive end. That is the position you take. Taco, I already said, to be gone. So you take the other guy. You take McKinley. I think he'll be equally as successful. If you need to take a linebacker, I'd say TJ Watt. Reason, solid pass rusher, very good linebacker. 30, the Steelers take Mike Williams. It's a pretty good choice. Yeah. If Mike is still there, you take him. 31, the Falcons. Oh, they have him taking TJ Watt. TJ Watt, like I said, very good pass rusher. He's got a very high motor, and he just goes. He is the Energizer Bunny. Solid choice. And 32, they have the Saints taking Mitch Trubisky. Now, normally I would stand here and argue with you that Mitch Trubisky this, and this. And I already said this on Facebook, that Mitch Trubisky is a wow what player. What do I mean by wow what? Wow what means he will drop back in the pocket, he will read, find a guy, throw it, perfect dime, right on the money, catch, run after, touchdown, whatever. And you go, wow. And they don't turn around and they'll throw an interception in triple coverage to a linebacker, and you go, what were you doing? There were a couple players that did that last year. They're, wow, what players? That's the only reaction you got. It's whoa, beautiful. And then they'll turn around and you go, what were you looking at? Who were you throwing to? So I think if you can take him and put him under Breeze and let him learn, that'd be a decent pick. If it's one of those where we want him to start now, nah. As for the second round, now I don't know what all the picks are off the top of my head for the second round, but I'll quick go through a couple things. The Browns probably go offensive line or defensive back. The Niners, I think, in the second round take a quarterback. They'll probably take Kaiser. The Bears, if you haven't taken a quarterback, will probably take an offensive lineman. Here's a thought. Number 16 in the first round. I think they have 16 in the second round. I think they have 16 in the second round. The Ravens, let's say they hold 16 all the way through. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look it up. Second round, I say you probably take defensive back or a D lineman. Third round, defensive back. Fourth round is where it gets tricky. You can go running back, position that they do need, or O-lineman again if there's someone you really do like. But here's one that I got. Round 5. Late round 4, early round 5. And this works for the Ravens, the Redskins. There's one more team I had him possibly going to. I had him possibly going to the Giants, which would be 23. So we'll say 16, 17, or 23. In late round 4, which would be these picks, or round 5, there is a dark horse quarterback that I have. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think the Giants take my other guy, who I don't have as a dark horse, that I'll say in a second. So we'll say the Ravens and the Redskins. Both could take my dark horse quarterback as a solid backup, and that's Trevor Knight. Trevor Knight is, of course, out of Texas A&M. The kid has a pretty good arm. It's a little too much power and a little less accuracy, but you can work on that. He has good mobility in and out of the pocket, and the kid can run. Now, he's not going to blow past you like Johnny Manziel, but he can run. He can get out of the pocket and get on downfield. Now, the Giants at 23. Now, we'll say, like I said, for the sake of argument, round 1, you take a soundwriter. Great choice. Round 2, you get all the way down. Defensive back wouldn't hurt you. O-lineman wouldn't hurt you. But again, second to third round, somewhere in there, you got to ask yourself this question. How many more years do you have Eli Manning? 1? 2? You need to replace him, and I know the perfect replacement for him. And that would be a very good quarterback, played for Clemson first. Then Clemson let him go. Then he went to a little school in the middle of friggin' nowhere in Scuba, Mississippi. And then he plays for Ole Miss. Yeah. Can you imagine that? Let's think about that for just a second. So let's say Eli leaves after a year or 2. And you pick up this kid. And I really mean it. You pick up this young man, this stellar athlete, who's got the arm talent, who's got the ability to get out of the pocket, has the ability to read and move and play. I'm talking about Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly to the Giants. Now that gets the brain working. That would be a beautiful pick. Now, if I'm the Giants, again, it depends on what kind of grade you have on him. A lot of people have kind of downgraded him because he wasn't at the combine and he was in trouble at one point, and they want to know how that'll affect him. My main thing is, while he was at Ole Miss, he really kept his nose clean, so I think that was just a hiccup. So I say round 2, if you get anxious. What do I mean by that? Let's say I'm still sitting at 23, again, for shits and giggles, and I'm looking at my board. And I got these 4 players, including Chad. And, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not in love with any of these other guys. Well, then go ahead and take him off the board because he is going to play and he is going to work in your system. Now, let's say there's some big defensive back that nobody's drafted yet. You go, that's the guy we want. That's the guy we're in love with. Then you take that guy and you let Chad slip on by. Now, do I mean like, okay, that's not the guy we're taking, forget it. No, I mean, you look at it, you think about it, and you take the guy that you've fallen in love with. Now, let's joke about this for a second. Where did Eli Manning play football? The Giants. Other than the Giants. Actually, he was originally drafted by the Chargers. A lot of people forgot that. He was originally drafted by the Chargers, and then the Giants took Ryan Leaf. They traded that. I believe that's how that worked. Or no, they got Rivers. That's what it is. They traded Rivers. Ryan Leaf had already gone. That was the Manning pick. The other Manning. It was Leaf was picked second. It was one of the Mannings. See, I knew it was one of the Mannings. That went with Leaf. No, I'm thinking of Phillip Rivers. The Giants took Rivers and they traded him. Anyway, to make the really short story really fucking long and pointless, Eli Manning played at Ole Miss. Where'd Chad Kelly play? Ole Miss. Seems like a match made in heaven almost. So there's a thought to keep your brain just clicking along. Now, I want to talk about a player that a lot of teams aren't talking about. A lot of analysts aren't talking about. Teams I've heard rumblings. And I kind of hope he ends up with the Lions, to be perfectly honest with you, because I know the Lions could use it. Not saying other teams couldn't. Just the Lions do have a need here. And that is a safety. And his name is Obi Melifonwu. This kid is pretty impressive. He hails from UConn. Now, when it comes to picks like that, finding people that are actually really useful and are actually, needed, I look at a team that I'm at such a crossroad with. Because normally I can't stand them, but they've made such good picks lately, and they've looked good. And that's that team that's blue and silver, and they got that weird star on their helmet. They're run by a guy who's kind of weird. The Cowboys. Because they did just lose Barry Church. So picking up Obi Melifonwu would be interesting, because then they also have Byron Jones, who also went to Connecticut. Now, I know a lot of people are immediately going to go, the only reason you want him to go there is because they both played at UConn. That had nothing to do with it. It just happened to be a coincidence. They both. Same thing with the Eli Manning and Ole Miss thing I did a second ago. You only want him to play there because they both played at Ole Miss. No, I went over this and went, who's the next quarterback after the top three that everyone's been talking about that has the least amount of questions? Oh, would you look at that? You happen to play at Ole Miss. Who needs a quarterback after that? Well, let's see if this team takes one, this team takes one, this team takes one. Oh, the Giants are left. Simple math. And that does it for this podcast. Oh, lovely. Sorry. The entire time you just see my eyes. Sorry. I moved things. That does it for this podcast. Thanks for watching. As always, we're brought to you as a huge thank you to Joe Rogan and the JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Without Joe, it's unavailable to do this podcast. You can listen to his comedy and watch his comedy on Spotify and Netflix. You can listen to his podcast on iTunes. I am not sponsored by Joe. Also brought to you as a huge thank you to Zions, the great tasting 0-calorie energy drink. Real energy for real people. One that gives the hashtag power2. I'm not sponsored by Zions. I am sponsored by one thing, and that is Bucks. They're not given here. They're not given there. They aren't given anywhere on this podcast. Have yourselves a lovely night. Bye.